Right. Hi everyone. Right, tonight we're talking about the Spahn Ranch raid, which happened on the 16th of August 1969. So this is about 7 days after they've done the La Biancas and Cielo Drive, and Gary Hinman and Bernard Crowe before this.
That's it.
Yeah, sorry, my friend's talking to me now.
I was going to say,
What?
I'm a fucking good listener.
He's a good listener, yeah. He said to be quiet. Got to shut up.
Hmm?
Sorry, we're very drunk
What?
here. In England, we drink quite a lot at Christmas, yeah. But right, where was I?
I was saying, we'll be quiet.
Good.
Do, Matt, can I listen?
Yeah.
It's fucking bad.
So yeah, he said it's better than the telly, listening to the Spahn Ranch raid report here.
Hey.
Right? Yeah. That's it. So that's it. So it's the end of it's the
Sorry.
So it's just after they've done the big crimes, and I think Linda Kasabian at this point is gone, and Tex doesn't appear to be on the list of people arrested unless he gave a fake name, but I don't think he was actually there. But all the other killers get arrested on this day: Susan and Leslie and Patricia Krenwinkel. And also one of the children detained is Linda Kasabian's baby, because when she ran off, she left her daughter. So, basically. And I thought the best way to give you a summary, rather than showing you the whole report, because it's quite long, the best way to give you a summary of it is just to read out this article. I found this on cielodrive.com. I think it's obviously from a newspaper at the time. Right. Sorry, wait a second. I'll go to that. Right, so Los Angeles, August 17th, this was published, obviously. 26 persons living in an abandoned Western movie set on an isolated Chatsworth ranch were arrested in a daybreak raid by sheriff's deputies Saturday as suspects in a major auto theft ring. Officers said they confiscated 7 rifles, a .43 caliber automatic pistol, and a 9mm machine gun. The group of 11 men and 15 women, including several members of a motorcycle gang called Satan's Slaves, was stealing Volkswagens, dismantling them, and converting them into dune buggies, according to deputies. 7 juveniles, including 4 infants, were taken into custody and turned over to juvenile authorities. More than 100 deputies swarmed over the 200-acre ranch shortly after 6 a.m., while most of the suspects were still asleep. Automobile parts were strewn over the area, they said. The suspects and their children, said deputies, had been living like animals. The 4 infants, all under 2 years old, and 4 women were found sleeping on the floor of a dirty, broken-down trailer, officers said. The ranch is owned by George Spahn, a blind 80-year-old semi-invalid. It is located in the Simi Hills at 12,000 Santana Susana Pass Road. Deputies said Spahn, who lives alone in a house on the ranch, apparently knew there were people living on the set but was unaware of their activities. They said he could not get around and he was afraid of them. Right. So that's just a newspaper article. That gives you like a summary of what happened, because there's the whole report. And it's really easy to find this. All I had to do was type into Google Spahn Ranch Raid Report, and it comes up on a site called DocDroid. There's 2 PDF files, and you can find this whole thing really easily. I'll just give you a look at it. This is one part of it. This gives you the list of everyone that was arrested and the parts they stole. And there's this bit. This is the summary of when how they walked in, how they actually executed the raid, what building they went to first, and all that sort of thing. But then there's all this stuff, and all this. Some of the points brought up in this are really interesting, because people talk about. Well, obviously, one of the points of this whole channel is there's a lot of different. Well, it's clear when you look at the surface of this case that they're hiding something, aren't they? Like, and the real motive wasn't really that Charles Manson had hypnotized these kids and made them into killers or whatever, you know. And so, like, the 2 main theories, well, there's 3 really, if you count Save a Brother. The reason that they did these killings, they say, the 2 major theories are drug burn, which is, so that's like that it was all over drugs somehow, and that there was drug deals that went wrong, and the murders were all going on because of these drug deals that went wrong. And then the other major theory is, of course, the CIA theory, that the CIA was somehow involved. And they brought about these murders to bring down the counterculture of the 60s. which is another extreme theory. And like people are in two camps. Some the people that are in the CIA theory one, and the Chaos by Tom O'Neill has brought up the CIA theory again. But it's not actually a new theory, right? Since while the trial was actually happening, the people were talking about the CIA being involved. It's not a new theory. But basically, but one of the big things that Tom O'Neill brings up in the book Chaos is that Charlie seemed to have a get out of jail free card, and he didn't get sent back to prison, like even though he was on parole throughout a lot of things. And the people that don't believe the CIA theory try and say that that don't believe the CIA theory, just say that the whole reason he didn't go back to prison was just because the probation service were incompetent or whatever, or the police were incompetent, and this is why he didn't get sent back to prison. But until I actually read the report, I couldn't believe what I was reading, right? Because I was thinking, yeah, maybe they just didn't know who he was when they arrested him or whatever. They didn't know he was on parole. I assume that he didn't tell them he was on parole. Do you know what I mean? And he would have been, secretive and evasive and that, and they just didn't realise who he was or whatever. But when I actually read this raid report, you find out that they did know exactly who he was, and he told them he was on parole. And he was blatantly waving firearms in front of them and all stuff like this. This is what I'm going to get into. This is what I actually wanted to discuss about the stream. I don't know. Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Christmas Eve. Now, to people on playback who are watching this in July, it's going to seem weird, but it is actually Christmas Eve we're doing this. But yeah, this was like so I've made this... presentation, like I see Charlie hiding behind the bush there. But these SWAT officers are a bit modern, I think, and the helicopters. But yeah, there were helicopters and SWAT teams involved. Right, yeah. So one of the first things that jumped out at me when I was reading the raid report, I don't think it's that one, sorry. Right, the informant had spent at least 10 full days at Spahn Movie Ranch since July 1st, 1969. And that's the day that Bernard Crowe, or the drug burn where Bernard Crowe gets ripped off, starts. He's actually shot in the early hours of the 2nd of July, I think. But it's the day the Bernard Crowe incident happened. So that shows that this informant was there. And this isn't mentioned in the police report. And the informant must have seen that, mustn't he? Must have heard them going out to shoot Bernard Crowe and heard that the ranch had been threatened and all that. But that isn't in the thing. I can hear that informant was there on the day of the Bernard Crowe shooting, and this isn't mentioned in the report, so it shows there's stuff that they aren't telling us. There's a lot they aren't telling us, definitely. Anyway, this informant says the informant has seen several rifles and handguns on the property. The informant further stated that the cost of the male adults at the ranch carry some type of weapons wherever they go on the property, and they also have guns near them when they sleep. The informant has some guns, practically every building on the property. The informant was also threatened by Charles Manson while the informant was staying at the Spahn Movie Ranch. The informant further stated that Charles Manson appears to be the leader of the group of 25 persons staying at the Spahn Movie Ranch. Right. That the informant was there from the day that the Bernard Crowe shooting happened. And what was the next thing? Right, oh yes, and this was the other crazy thing that jumped out at me as I read the raid report, right? Officer Lee has received 3 loaded banana clips for a .30 caliber carbine, which were found on or about July the 29th, 1969, by Devonshire Division patrol officers. The clips apparently fell from a dune buggy while on the highway. Officer Lee has been contacted by the person known as Charles Manson, mentioned in prior memos. If persons told Mr. Manson told Lee at the time the clips belonged to him, but as yet has not picked up the clips from Officer Lee. Sergeant Douglas in Urafian also contacted Officer Williams, 13814 LAPD, Devonshire Divisions. Officer Williams stated that within the last 2 weeks, he and his partner were on duty at the Spahn Ranch in a marked police vehicle. The officers were talking with Charles Manson, and Mr. Manson was bragging to the officers about the weapons available to him and his friends at the ranch. Mr. Manson told the officers that while he was talking to the officers, that his friends had rifles trained on the officers. Also, Manson indicated this is standard procedure whenever officers approach the ranch. Right, so what they're saying there is basically Charles Manson has stood in front of these policemen and said, yeah, we're pointing guns at you right now. And this is standard procedure. Whenever cops come near the ranch, we're pointing guns at you. right? And they don't arrest him, nothing. They just go, oh, okay then, bye, and they leave him. They go, and it's like this. It's like you can see how weird what the point Tom O'Neill's making, because people that don't support the CIA thing say, oh, all these it was all just because the police were incompetent. But it's like it's actually in the report the police were aware of how many guns they had and all that, and he actually said to police officers while they were stood outside the ranch, we've got guns trained on you now, and we do this all the time. You know, every time the police come, we're pointing guns at you. And then, later they do raid them. So obviously, I suppose when you're raiding people that are that heavily armed, you would have to plan it in advance, like quite a lot. So yeah, that's what it was. You know, but it does seem quite odd. That's just another weird thing, isn't it? That they. Yeah, what was the other thing? Yes, this is another thing, the June buggy shop, because part of the, like, when I read out the article there, they said that basically the whole thing is all about an auto theft ring. They're making June buggies. But on August the 10th, 1969, so the day after the LaBiancas, Urafian contacted the centre of the the typeface is hard to read. Above mentioned June buggy shop at 10202 Topanga Canyon, Chatsworth. The business is named Butler's Buggy Shop, and there's a phone number. It is owned by Phil and Dale Butler. Phil Butler is a Los Angeles police officer assigned to Valley Services Division Jail. Dale Butler is the manager of location and knows Charles Manson. Dale Butler said he has always conducted business with Charles Manson on a cash basis. Charles Manson recently purchased 2 June buggies from location, paying for both in the amount of $2,300 in $100 bills. Dale Butler said Manson normally carries large sums of money. Manson recently purchased a June buggy without an engine from Dale Butler. Right, so again, there's the sum of $2,300, around $2,000. This sum of $2,000 comes up all the time. But it says there he paid for 2. He bought 2 June buggies, paying for both. So was that for both of them, $2,300? And this is the day after they've done the LaBiancas. He goes to the June buggy shop and buys 2 June buggies, apparently. Yeah, that could be another reason. But that's another thing. He was that blatant in front of the coppers. He just said, oh, yeah, we got guns pointed at you right now, man. And he boasted about how many guns he had. And he actually rang the police to say, oh, yeah, that loaded clip you found on the highway, that was mine. Yeah. He actually rang them himself to say that. And he hasn't been to pick it up, though. Yeah, what is everyone drinking since it is Christmas? I've got my slow gin, look. Yeah. I made this slow gin. This is not the brand of gin that I use, but look, this is you soak berries in it, basically. That's what gives it its colour, and put a bit of sugar in it and almond essence, and it makes like a liqueur, basically. It's a really, really strong nose, this gin. It's really nice. And I was drinking a Snowball earlier as well, which is Avocar and lemonade, isn't it? Oh, God, right. We've got the inflation calculator. So that's $18,000 today. And yeah, but the sum of $2,000 is mentioned a lot because that's what they steal off Bernard Crowe. That's what they're supposed to have stolen off Linda Kasabian's husband. That's how much they're supposed to have been burned for on the MDA. The sum of $2,000, it just keeps reoccurring, this sum of $2,000. Oh, you're having a raspberry brown ale. Oh, sorry. Ginger ale, tea and a spliff. Eggnog and brandy. Yeah, so a Snowball is kind of like eggnog, I think. Yeah, we're talking about what we're drinking. Yeah.
Never heard that.
Eggnog. Well, yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I know it's something to do with Avocar, isn't it? We don't make eggnog in the UK. We just have Avocar and mix it with lemonade. We call that a Snowball. Mm. Yeah, I do. Should we all?
Yes.
Oh, you're drinking ginger beer as well. Ginger beer is a popular one tonight, by the sound of things. Yeah.
It's not the,
Sorry, is the telly coming through really loud? Is it bothering anyone? Because my friend I'm using his house, so I don't think that's really interfering with the stream too bad, is it? The sound of that telly. So eggs, milk, sugar, and spices. So it's eggnog. Yeah, so it is basically just adding more eggs to Avocar in it and milk, and they mix it up. Yeah. And brandy is the alcohol in alcohol, apparently. Right, so yeah. Yeah, but that's the other crazy thing. Oh, yeah, for Christmas Eve, you've got to do something on Christmas, haven't you? Only happens once a year. Yeah. We'll go to what's the next slide that I have. Oh, yes, this is another one, another case, and it comes up in the Spahn Ranch raid report. Another possible murder that the Mansons family. Yeah, because when I was searching for this guy's name, I found an article about other murders they supposedly committed. But look, yeah, this it says in the Spahn Ranch raid report, Officer Lee also stated he was in the Spahn Ranch on approximately July 21st, 1969, with Homicide Bureau Sergeant Sholand and De La Puente, or Fuente, is that? Who were conducting the murder investigation of Mark Waltz, male Caucasian, 16, whose body was found in the Malibu station area recently. And there's this article about this. Topanga Sheriff's detectives said today they were without clues to the motive for the slaying of a 16-year-old boy whose body was found sprawled along Topanga Canyon Boulevard Friday. Mark Glenn Waltz was shot 4 times in the chest. His body was discovered about 1/2 mile west of the Los Angeles city limits. The boy, wearing blue Levi's, a sports shirt, and an olive drab jacket, also had 2 deep cuts about his head. A brother of the youngster identified the body after hearing a description of the victim broadcast over the air. Young Waltz of 20627 Mayle Street had gone fishing, the brother told investigators. So yeah, this is another kid. He's a 16-year-old kid and he'd gone fishing and he's found shot and beaten, which is, well, Frykowski and Jay Sebring were definitely shot and beaten, weren't they? So it's kind of their MO. But I found he wasn't a Manson. When I looked into this, he wasn't a Manson family member, but he had hung out there. But apparently his brother phoned the ranch saying he knew it was Manson. He was sure it was Manson and he was going to get him. I'd love to know why his brother was so sure it was Manson. Because he didn't die on the... Yeah, I don't think he was. He didn't die on the ranch. He'd gone fishing. But I wonder, could they have gone and hunted him down because he'd seen something or had robbed them in some way or whatever, who knows. But yeah, it does kind of sound like a Manson family killing because of the shooting and beating around the head. But there's no stabbing, is there? So they were quite stabby, the old Manson family. And like I say, he wasn't like on the ranch. He had just gone, so it could have been anyone, couldn't it? Really. And so, but yeah, that's another. But this was again after they've committed the other murders. The police were investigating them again over another murder. And Patricia Krenwinkel and Leslie are still there, and Tex goes with them when they run to the next ranch, doesn't he? So he's around. But I don't know if he was actually there on the day of the raid. Yes, it is unfair that weed isn't legal in England. But you never know, it might change because they've realised now how much money they can make out of it because the people that grow it in America pay a lot of tax, don't they? So it might happen. You never know. I'm going to pour myself another drink, actually, since it's Christmas. And we'll just chat for a bit. So I can always edit this one. I'll have to edit this one a bit, I think. Since it's such a drunk stream.
Oui. Yeah.
So again, the tonic water exploded all over me earlier as well. So hot in this jumper. Can we turn that heater down a bit? Because, yeah, I got a slow gin stain on my sweatshirt, so I've had to change into this thing, which is like a fleece sweater thing. But it's so warm. It's one of these ridiculous oversized sweater things, you know. And and it's like, I'm boiling alive in it.
No, wait.
See, we don't have any of that. Well, there are doctors who send it to you through the post and that. You can actually get the advice now, but I don't think it's legal. I don't think, I think they'd get busted if they were caught doing it. But there is some kind of legality for medical use now if you've got us, but it's getting the doctor to sign it. And the CBD as well. CBD you can get. I don't think you can get it easily on the NHS, but it's easy to get everywhere now. And CBD is enough for some things, isn't it? You just don't get high off it, obviously. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Yeah, there was a helicopter involved. With all that evidence, he collected evidence. Apparently, they flew over the ranch and all the evidence of car theft and credit card theft. How on earth did everyone get released? This is the thing, isn't it? They say that it's because there was something about the warrant was off. The date on the warrant was off or something like that. But it's actually, apparently Tom O'Neill found that it wasn't. That the warrant was actually in date. Yeah, well, it is weird, isn't it? Why did someone target him? And he knew the Manson family. What could he have done to piss them off, maybe? But it does seem weird. I don't think it was them somehow. I think that it was just... But yeah, it seems quite a personal way to kill someone, doesn't it, as well? To beat them up and shoot them. It's like, I don't know. Who knows? Oh, yes, and they couldn't prove any one person had committed any specific crime, yeah, because they just arrested them all at once. They wouldn't have confessed to it. Obviously, they'd have just denied everything, wouldn't they? Oh, yes, but this is the other crazy thing that I found in the Spahn Ranch actual raid report as well. When they actually arrested Charlie, because I'd heard about this rape report. I've got the rape report. I won't read out the whole thing, but I've actually found this report. I'll show you that. Yeah, see the writing on it's really small. No, sorry, that's the raid report. Sorry, this one. This is the report of the rape. It's only 3 pages long. It basically says this 17-year-old girl was walking along the road and she was pulled into a car. She was sort of forced into the car. She didn't really want to go there. And basically she was taken to Spahn Ranch and she didn't like it. Sorry. And she wanted to go. And basically Charlie took her into another area and raped her, basically, she says. And I'd assumed that they didn't arrest him because it says at the end her family didn't want charges pressed and they didn't want the girl to have to go to court, so I assume they didn't arrest him. But it says in the raid report that they did arrest him and they interviewed him, right? And this was the other thing that blew my mind. Because people say the police, the reason he didn't get picked up for the parole violations was because they didn't know he was on parole, right? But it says here, Charles Manson, he was booked on June the 4th, 1969 on a rape charge. This arrest was the outgrowth of a rape that occurred at the Spahn Ranch, and it's being handled by Malibu Station. Manson was... Sorry, I'll get off the screen. Was booked in Devonshire Division case, and there's a number assigned. During the interview by the investigators, Manson told the officers he was on federal parole for grand theft auto, and he stated that he had served time in Terminal Island and McNeil Island federal prisons. Right? So basically, this guy is on parole and he's under arrest for raping a minor, and he tells them he's on parole. He says, I'm on parole, I've done time in Terminal Island at McNeil Island. And they still just go, bye, okay then. And they let him go. It does seem a bit fucking strange, doesn't it, at this point? That blew my mind when I realised they had arrested him. And while he was under arrest, he told them that he was on parole. So they can't have not known he was on parole. He told them he was on parole, and they still let him go. Hi, Danny. Hi there. Yeah. I hope you're having a good Christmas. This is a crazy one. Yeah, I was just showing this. This is from the Spahn Ranch raid report. They actually did arrest Charles Manson over the rape report and the rape that got reported. And this is that's the report of the rape, basically, the account of what happened. And while he was under arrest for that, basically, they knew. He told them that he was on parole as well. And they still just released him. He still just got let go. I mean, it's the things he's doing. It's like he's begging to be sent back to prison. Like he's freaking out, isn't it? Like he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go back. He's terrified of these kids. It doesn't suggest to me that he was a person that was in control very much. You know what I mean? Like how he's portrayed. It seems like he was begging them to send him back to prison, and they were just letting him go. And that's the weird one. That's the weird thing, because I mean, I kind of like. I believe that drugs had a big part in the real motive for these murders, but I also think there was something else, but the actual real other reason that this could have been going on, that they weren't arresting Charles Manson and the family. Also, there is another explanation other than the CIA were keeping him out of prison for some reason as well. The other explanation would be that there was some kind of larger drug investigation going on. And there's a lot of evidence of that as well that we're not actually shown in the FBI reports that we've got on that. But there's evidence that, they're giving us a glimpse into the fact that there was a larger drug ring that they were trying to get down. And maybe somehow they were tracking Charles Manson and the people in, and that he was leading them to, they were following him to see who his drug connections were or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And so if they had arrested them sooner, it would have compromised another investigation they were doing. But it's pretty shocking because all these informants at the ranch and all that we know they had, they must have known that they were the murderers as well. That's the scary thing. And they still let them go. And then you find they actually did arrest Charles Manson for this rape. And they still let him go. And then in the Spahn Ranch raid report, it tells you that when cops were coming up to the ranch, he was telling them they had loads of guns in there. And he was saying to the cops, we're pointing a gun at you now, and we point guns at cops every time they come. And it's like, and it makes you question, doesn't it? But instead of thinking that it's some kind of huge CIA conspiracy, I think it's more likely that it was some kind of other thing that they were doing, basically. Yeah, I probably will. I'll bring him on screen for the after stream. That's more casual, yeah. If he was the informant, I don't know. Well, he didn't mention. This is the thing in the Spahn Ranch raid report anyway. The Bernard Crowe shooting isn't mentioned, but that's the crazy thing because it says the informant arrived on the 1st of July, and that's the day that Texas come back and said, "Oh, I've just robbed this guy." And then the guy rings, I think that it was early hours of the morning. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning when they get the phone call and he threatens to come and burn the ranch and all that. And so like, the informant must have seen all that, It's and that isn't in the raid report. Yeah, it does say in the report that she didn't press charges, but he also told them at that time that he was on parole. And you'd think they'd have tried to get him for something, wouldn't you, at that point? And they'd have found other parole violations. And they knew he was on parole. And it also says somewhere in the raid report, I didn't do a slide of it, but it says somewhere that he's in violation of penal code, something over the guns. So they knew he was committing violations. It's just crazy that he didn't get rearrested and sent back to prison for any of these things, you know what I mean? And like raping a minor, that's quite a bad thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because she was 17, so under the age of 18. But yes, it does say at the end of the rape report, her family didn't want her to have to go to court, so they didn't want to press charges. But he was hauled in for it, and when he was hauled in, he told them that he was on parole and he'd done time in prison, and they still didn't, put him away. It is weird. But we can't then just leap to the conclusion that it's the fucking CIA or it was a massive conspiracy. I think it's more likely that there was just there were lots of things being monitored around these people. And if they'd arrested them sooner, they wouldn't have seen some connection they needed to see or whatever. That's probably what it was. Yeah, that's another thing as well. Yeah, that's it. And well, fucking hell, he was arrested with loads of other, about associating with other felons because he was arrested with a load of other people that were felons. So yeah, they knew he was associating with felons as well. There's loads of things he'd done that were parole violations. And they can't deny that they knew he was on parole. Didn't know he was on parole. That's the thing, because that's what people that want to completely dismiss all the CIA stuff want to always say is, oh, they were just incompetent. They didn't know he was on parole. But it actually says in the Spahn Ranch raid report that they knew he was on parole because he told them he was on parole. It's weird. That's it, yeah. And if he had a felony, he wouldn't have been allowed to have the guns. Yeah, that's it. And he was telling the police he was pointing guns at them. And, they had all these stolen car parts all over the place and that. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Someone must have. Yeah. It's too bad that they would ask Charlie this. Yeah, while he was. Well, he was like, we'd have probably given one of his weird cryptic answers, wouldn't he? That not really told us, sort of thing. Yeah, but like I said, that blew my mind when I read that. It's another moment like when I first read the police report and I saw all the stuff about MDA and people robbing each other and all that, you know. Cool. I might go to an after stream now because that's all the slides I wanted to show. Oh, actually, I was going to show photos of the ranch and the raid because there are photos because you can show them from CLA Drive. Right, has that changed the tab? I think it has, no. Sorry. Messing about while I load the photos here, just because if anyone's watching this, he doesn't know what the ranch looks like. And some of the photos are quite good of all the families sitting around. Yeah, this is just photos generally of the ranch. If we go to that, is it for the screen better? Yeah. So that's the ranch from the air. Must have been taken from a helicopter at the time. All the buildings. Yeah, and take a note of the Longhorn Saloon because you see a photo taken from inside the Longhorn Saloon at one point. There's the Longhorn Saloon again. This is before the raid now. This is during the raid, I think. Yeah, this is the Longhorn Saloon during the raid. Officers stand in front of the Longhorn Saloon on Saturday, August 16th. Straight Satan's member Robert Reinhard sits handcuffed on the back of a trailer. Yes, that's it. Spahn Ranch. Yeah, and let's just look at all the cars. That's all the cars they used. And the helicopter flying overhead. Officers search above the building at Spahn Ranch as a helicopter monitors the August 16 raid from above. Right. Oh, yeah, look. That's more of the officers standing in front of it. It's all the family. Well, you can just find this page on CLADrive.com if you want to look at the photos for longer. And I see, is that... No, that's Larry Craven. Oh, no, the good one of Sandy and Lynette, and that is apparently Stephanie Schramm in the background there. Oh, and this is, Charles Manson getting manhandled as he's walking to the front of the ranch. And all the others watching as they wrestle him to the ground. There is, they make him lay down for that's just to humiliate him in front of everyone. Danny DeCarlo. More shots of him being manhandled. Oh, look, and you can see the Straight Satan's patch in that one. There's a better one here. That's the Straight Satan's patch. That's a better one of the Straight Satan's patch. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, trying to, yeah. So I'm going to end this now and go to an after stream anyway. I'll probably redo this one in the new year. But anyway, hang around for a minute and I'll come back online for an after stream. And then it doesn't matter. Okay. Right, I'll end this now. Thanks for coming and happy Christmas. And I'll see you in about 5 minutes. Or probably less than that.